Hey guys, this is Bill Nerone, Master of Wine. I wanted to follow on with the discussion of what's happening post pollination fertilization. So we do have berry set happening in the vineyard. Let me turn on the PowerPoint here. So here is what my vineyard looks like at the moment. So you can see quite a bit of growth happening. Is the growth is above kind of the top wire, top of the posts. So over the next few weeks, we'll kind of give this a trim, and then kind of clean up any laterals and things like that. But we are off to a really good start. So this was a few days ago, so around June 20th. I took this picture. Today is the June 23rd, but you can see really nice berry set happening. The berries are still quite small. They're not touching. They're kind of this pea size type of size here. But there is kind of a lot happening that you can't see. It's all processes that are internal to the vine. So let's take a look. So the here is a picture of the berry, grape berry. So you have the two locules. Within the locules, there are two ovules. Within the ovules, that's essentially the egg cell that gets fertilized. And last time we talked about that, the egg cell gets fertilized, and then which develops into the embryo over time, and then the central nuclei gets fertilized as well. So it's a double fertilization. And that triploid of the central nuclei here after fertilization becomes the endosperm. The endosperm is what will actually provide the nutrition for the embryo to grow. Once the seeds become viable, you can theoretically take it, plant it into the ground, and it will germinate into a new plant. And that endosperm is what will provide the initial energy source for that embryo to grow. Okay. Let's move on to the next slide over here. So, as we discussed last time, a successful fertilization of the ovules is required to produce final fruit in almost all species of Vitis vinifera. If none of the ovules become fertilized, it is possible for some berries to develop temporarily, but usually after 2 or 3 weeks or so, the those berries will be aborted and abscised from the plant. That is a process known as shatter. You may have heard that term before. And the reason the plant does this is if there are no seeds possible in that berry, there's no possibility of progeny from that berry going to happen. So the vine kind of cuts its losses, so to speak, and aborts it. So roughly 20 to 30% of the flowers on the inflorescence will become mature berries. That's what kind of the approximate fertilization rates that happen. And again, since there are two locules with two ovules in them, so the maximum number of seeds for a berry is usually 4. Now you may occasionally find one with more than 4, but that's quite an anomaly. And usually less than 4 are typical in the grape berry. Anywhere from 1 to 2, 3, sometimes 4. Occasionally you may see all 4 seeds develop. You will get smaller berry size if there's only one seed that develops or 2 seeds that develops versus 4. So that skin to juice ratio can be a little bit higher in those cases. It does follow, the overall berry growth does follow this double sigmoid curve, and I'll have a picture of that shortly. So it's kind of this initial growth phase, and then it kind of hangs out and chills out, called lag phase, and then another growth phase will happen. But from the beginning, after berry set, in mass, the berries will grow approximately 4,000x from the very initial berry set all the way through harvest. And just keep in mind that's done in mass, not by volume. All right, so the first phase is this rapid growth phase that can last anywhere from 40 to 60 days, depending on the variety. So the initial berries do get quite a lot bigger And this is done primarily through mitosis. So cellular division is happening. So one cell becomes two, then two become four, etc. This exponential growth. And at the end of this 40, 60-day period, this establishes the total number of cells within the berry. So if you wanted to control berry size, there are techniques to kind of restrict water and restrict new nutrients, so to speak, to the grapevine that can reduce the number of cellular divisions, resulting in smaller berries. Generally speaking, winemakers want smaller berries because we have a higher skin to juice ratio, giving more intense, more flavorful wines. The berry expansion so there's a slight amount due to solute accumulation, but that's not the important factor at this stage. The acids primarily present at this stage, and I'll discuss what the motivation is the acids are tartaric acid and malic acid predominantly at this stage. Incidentally, malic acid is the same acid that you find in Granny Smith apples, the very tart, jarring acid. That's malic acid. It's kind of a harsher feeling acid. And it also starts developing some hydroxycinnamic acids, tannins, and methoxypyrazines, things like that. So eventually, these will go on for various phenolic compounds, in the case of hydroxycinnamic acids, and the various flavor precursors and amino acids that will be used later. So the embryo, after the zygote is formed, so during the stage 1, the embryo is initiated and develops just a little bit during the stage. This is not the primary part of development for the embryo. It is starting, but that will come in the lag phase. The berries, those green berries that you're seeing, are very hard. They're not very enjoyable to eat. They're basically acid bombs at this point. I'm a bit of a sourhead, so I do like to chew on them every now and then, but they're just full of acid at this stage. There's hardly any sugar in those berries, and that will be true for about the next 6 weeks or so. It is during the lag phase that the embryo really starts to develop, and that can last anywhere from 7 to 40 days. It is variety dependent. So it is the lag phase that will largely determine whether a variety is an early ripening variety or a late ripening variety. It depends on how long this lag phase lasts. So varieties like Pinot Noir tend to be an early ripener, don't need a lot of heat units. This will be a little bit on the shorter side. Things like Cabernet Sauvignon, Petit Verdot will have a longer cycle for that embryo to develop. It is at this stage also that the organic acid reaches its highest level, and I'll talk about why that is. Let's look at this graphic. Now, you probably have seen this on the internet. This is all over the place. I should credit Wine Titles, Jordan Kutromanidis. I probably butchered the pronunciation of that name. I apologize, but he did this amazing graphic that is virtually all over the place. But it really beautifully encapsulates what's happening. So here is that double sigmoid, so double S curve, right? This double sigmoid curve. So here's the berry size right after the fertilization is, and the berry sets is super tiny, and then that's going to go through this pericarp division, this mitotic division, and increase the size quite rapidly. And that'll be roughly 40-ish days or so, and then it's going to hit stage 2, which is the lag phase. And during lag phase, the berry size doesn't change that much. So it's kind of hanging around here, and it is really at this stage where the embryo is really developing. And once the embryo is fully developed and can, that seed viability, so to speak, is complete, then we'll enter a process called veraison. I will talk about the veraison aspect in the subsequent video. I want to focus on this. So during this stage, the plant has evolved in a really, really amazing manner. The grapevine. So at this stage, when the seed is not viable, how does the plant prevent animals from eating the berries, right? Because the goal of it is, since the plant can't move, it's reliant on deer and birds and stuff like that to eat the grapes eventually and spit out the seeds or excrete the seeds out, and hopefully wherever they land, it can germinate into a new plant. So the plant has evolved pretty smartly. So in the beginning, when the seed viability is not there yet, it pumps a whole bunch of acids and these hydroxycinnamates into the berry. These are very bitter compounds. So acid, tannins, and hydrocynnamates are pumped into the berry, right? And that creates kind of it's a harsh tasting thing, right? So it's really deterring any animals from coming and eating the fruit because the seeds are not viable. So it pumps it full of acid. So no sugar really. And at this stage, the sugar, I mean, the plant is photosynthesizing, right? The leaves are producing sucrose, but they're not really sent to the berry for storage yet. That will happen post-veraison. So pre-veraison, it takes that sugar and it actually generates it and massages it into tartaric acid and malic acid, right? This acid on purpose because it wants to make those berries quite harsh tasting to keep the predators away. And then after the viability is there, then it will start pumping the berries full of sugar. The color change happens. The color change is this attractant, visual attractant for the birds and the animals to come eat the berries. And now we don't want that to happen in the vineyards. We want to harvest the grapes, right? So we do put bird netting and things like that to deter any animals at that point once veraison hits. But at that stage, theoretically, the plant is ready to produce offspring. So it has the grapevine has evolved very, very smartly to be able to generate this. So you'll see the glucose, fructose, the sugar aspect coming in later. I think time-wise, I'm going to stop here, and then we'll continue this discussion in a subsequent video, as we'll talk about what happens after the lag phase in stage 3. And that's the veraison as that point leading up to harvest. Okay, see you soon. Thank you.